Hey everybody, what's going on? So we got this new movie on Netflix called The Discovery, and before I say anything, I'm gonna throw this out there. This is one of those movies that you absolutely have to watch. And not because it's like the greatest film I've ever seen, or it's my favorite movie of all time, but mainly because it might actually help you understand some things about yourself and what you believe in. In that sense, this movie is comparable to, say, a Cloud Atlas, or an Interstellar, or a Blade Runner, in that it poses so many goddamn questions. It doesn't totally answer them, but it gives you an idea, or some ideas about the possible answers to those questions, if that makes any sense. Basic plot of the movie: scientist discovers that brainwaves go somewhere as soon as we pass away, which automatically implies that there is some semblance of an afterlife, whether your mind is going somewhere, or it could be your consciousness, it could be your soul, your ghost, whatever you want to call it. It's going somewhere. They're not sure exactly where it goes. It could be to heaven, hell, another plane of existence, an alternate reality. It doesn't matter. The point is, something happens. And because of that, naturally, millions of people kill themselves. And the main scientist who made that discovery's son is coming to visit him at his, giant mansion home, where even after the discovery, he's still trying to further his experiments a little bit more. And the deeper they go with the experiments, the more interesting and introspective the philosophical concepts become. And I'm just gonna leave you with that. There's a couple other things going on, but that's good for now. First of all, this movie's full of just straight up killers. You got Robert Redford playing the scientist, you have Jason Segel playing the son, and then Rooney Mara is playing his kind of love interest. And then there's 3 or 4 other faces that you recognize, but you're not sure where they're from. And they were all good. Everybody acted very well. Particularly Jason Segel, because he didn't try to be funny in this movie. He was going for straight drama. And I contend that most comedic actors are better at drama than everybody gives them credit for. The music was really good. It stood out just a little bit, but in a good way. The tone of the movie was good. You felt this kind of suicidal tendency throughout it. But throughout the movie, there's these discussions and philosophies about the possibilities of what we don't know. At one point, somebody's talking about, oh, the proof is overwhelming. And then another person chimes in with, no, proof is actually definitive. It shouldn't just be overwhelming. Which is a statement that could easily be corrected if you switch out proof with evidence. But either way, that's actually something that people need to realize. There's proof and then there's evidence. In some instances, evidence can indeed be proof, but there are other times where evidence kind of points in a certain direction, but is not a definitive thing. Honestly, I could talk for hours about just that, but I'll leave with that for now. Aside from that, there's discoveries that they make, throughout the movie that kind of further the plot a little bit more. And just me personally, I think some of those discoveries are a little bit too fantastical, almost, I don't know if, I can't say that they're impossible because, again, we don't know everything yet, but they just seem a little bit too convenient, but at the same time, this is a work of fiction, so it's kind of meant to be that way. Essentially, it made me feel things, which is what a work of art is supposed to do. I'm just not sure how I feel about those things. But after a while, you learn to kind of run with the movie and just okay, let's just go, all right, let's see how this journey goes. And I personally thought it was a very creative little canal they were trying to dig with this movie. As far as the ending goes, I understood why it ended the way it ended. Within the framework that, the film sets up, it makes sense and everything. But I felt like it could have elaborated just a little bit more on it, but maybe that's the whole point. Because the whole movie's kind of based around, we know something happens, but we're just not sure what. And I was kind of hoping that the ending would elaborate more on that. This isn't gonna make any sense if you haven't seen the movie. I guess what I'm saying is I personally wish the ending would have fleshed everything out a little bit more, but because it didn't flesh everything out, I felt like that was kind of done on purpose. Because some of the films I mentioned before, like Blade Runner, not all of your questions are answered, but it's supposed to be intentionally unanswered. But regardless of all that, if you watch this with 2 or more people, you are gonna have a fucking long discussion afterwards. Which makes me really want to talk about the ending, but this is a non-spoiler, so maybe I'll make a spoiler video later down the line. Because this movie is a huge talking point for anybody. Also, one thing I really liked, they didn't pussyfoot around the little love story that was going on. Because the second Jason Segel and Rooney Mara meet up in the beginning of the movie, you're like, oh, something's totally gonna happen with that. And every other movie just blue balls you until the very end of the movie, and then it's oh, they kiss and shit. This movie doesn't do that. This movie, 5-10 minutes into it, it's just no, we have chemistry, there's something going on, and then, yeah. Basically what I'm saying is this movie didn't pussyfoot around the fact that these 2 people were having feelings for each other. And I like that. I like that straightforward shit. But anyway, like I say, this movie is very mind-boggling. It's just one of those movies that you have to watch, whether it doesn't matter what kind of movies you're into. You should watch this movie. But certain things might not totally feel like they're fleshed out. Questions don't feel like they're answered. And the ending might confuse people. So for right now, I'm gonna give it an 8.2. That might change at some point. I'm not sure. But anyway, if you have Netflix, watch this movie because you will get something out of it. And if you don't get something out of it, you will get something out of yourself and how you feel about certain philosophical concepts about life and death. And if that's not important, I don't know what the fuck is. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts? Have you seen this movie yet? Do you want to see it? Hop in the comments. Let me know what's up. And if you have any recommendations for me, leave a comment about that too. And yeah, other than that, give me a like, subscribe, do all that other bullshit, and I will catch you guys later.